I feel like it's been a good while since I've been able to dive into the Musou or Warriors games on a regular basis. The last game of the genre I covered was Warriors Orochi 4 about 9 months ago, and even that was well after its initial release. It was the first game I reviewed via game rentals through GameFly. But things can easily change. Thanks to my relation with Koei Tecmo PR, I was given a chance to revisit that game in its updated Ultimate form not long after release. Here is my review of Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. Being an expanded version of Warriors Orochi 4, the story is pretty much the same, but with some added features. You've still got the conflict between the warriors of China and Japan against the gods of Olympus and more. But since the original game did kind of have a finalized conclusion, instead of continuing that ending, Ultimate makes an alternate one where new characters come in like Gaia and Joan of Arc, joining the party as they dive a little bit deeper into the original villain's plot and find a more permanent solution to the conflict. And overall, I think this new story stuff was written well. Yes, it's an alternate version of an already conclusive ending, but it does a pretty good job at giving you some more backstory and lore on why the villain did what he did. When it comes to gameplay, just like its predecessor, this is a 3D action-adventure Musou game. As you go through all of the game modes, you'll be navigating large 3D maps and fighting huge hordes of enemies with a party of characters in hack-and-slash combat. Let's start things off by talking about the differences between Vanilla and Ultimate and whether or not it's worth the upgrade. Unlike other enhanced versions of games, you can actually just upgrade to Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate by buying some $40 DLC. It all still registers as the same game. Even on the Switch's menu, when you're playing Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate, it pulls up on your profile as just Warriors Orochi 4. What Ultimate added was 2 new chapters to the story mode, several gameplay enhancements, 7 new playable characters, and the new Infinity mode. The latter of which has the most replay value, having you go through randomized dungeons filled with missions, gaining back the character roster while also getting materials you can use to make special weapons for the story mode. And speaking of story, it's worth noting that most of these new features cannot be accessed until you've already cleared the original game's 5-chapter campaign. Now, Infinity mode is all well and good, but what most people are probably looking at are the new characters. Some of these are new, while a few of them are guest characters like Ryu from the Ninja Gaiden franchise, and that's a very interesting little tidbit of the game. If you recall, when Warriors Orochi 4 was originally being developed, it was stated that it would not be including any guest characters, with Ryu being singled out in that statement. Obviously, that mindset for the development team changed when they wanted to make Ultimate. Now, as far as game progression and how the game plays, not very much has changed. The flow of combat, swapping party members and using magic is still here, and unfortunately some of the downsides of combat are also here, like that feature that gives you a game over if the character you're controlling dies, even if you have other party members that can still fight. The gameplay is more enhanced rather than completely overhauled. You can now link Musou attacks together from different characters and swap out sacred treasures at will, giving your favorite character whatever magic attacks you want them to have instead of them just being stuck with what the development team gave them. This also means the game's repetition is still here. The new characters do add a bit of variety, so you can use the party system to swap out and do different play styles, but overall the missions do get repetitive over time with what they have you do. And that brings us to content and length, which has to be looked at from a couple different perspectives. The original had a lot of content, its story campaign easily lasting at least 18 to 20 hours, and Ultimate's new story editions will last you another 8 to 10 hours. There's really no question that having a 30+ hour game before you even start diving into Infinity mode is definitely worth that $60 price, but that is solely if you're a newcomer to Warriors Orochi 4. If you're a veteran, you're going to be paying $40 for only 8 to 10 hours. And now let's get into presentation, which hasn't really changed that much. Visually, the game still looks good. The 3D models look nice and smooth outside of some weird shadow and hair effects. But the only real improvement here is when we get to performance. Docked mode is pretty smooth overall, just as it was before, but handheld mode or playing on the Switch Lite has been improved quite a bit. The original release was very choppy with a lot of frame drops almost constantly in handheld mode, whereas there are still quite a few frame drops, but they don't happen nearly as often as they did. And when we dive into battery life, we also see things haven't changed that much. On the original model, Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate has a battery range of 2 hours and 22 minutes up to 2 hours and 41 minutes. On the Nintendo Switch Lite, it has a range of 3 hours and 36 minutes up to 5 hours and 13 minutes. And on the 2019 V2 or Redbox model, it has a range of 4 hours and 15 minutes up to 5 hours and 40 minutes. In conclusion, Ultimate adds a fair amount of new content onto an already large Musou game. Now, the downside, the problems of the original game are mostly still problems here, and veterans of that original game are gonna get a lot less bang for their buck, with the upgrade DLC costing $40 and only giving you about 8 to 10 extra hours of story content. But regardless of what position you're in, this is still a good Musou game with a lot of content for you to dive through. Reviews to Go rates Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch a 7.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.